Doom 3 is the long-awaited first-person shooter from id Software, the company that created FPS gaming in the first place and has remained at the forefront of the genre for the last 10 years. The game exploded onto the PC in the dead of summer last year, and now it's arrived on the Xbox, featuring a brand new and very cool cooperative play mode. On top of that, pretty much nothing was lost in translation here, so the amazingly good visuals from the PC version are more or less intact on the Xbox, making this one of the best-looking games out there once again. The game casts you as a lone space marine, or pair of space marines, fighting against the forces of hell in an overrun Martian base. It's a totally simple, straightforward first-person shooter at heart, but the incredible presentation goes a long way toward making the experience of playing this game truly great. Despite Doom 3's cutting-edge graphics, from a gameplay design standpoint, it's actually pretty much behind the times. You've got a big arsenal of weapons that all look terrific, but they're just these basic point-and-shoot sorts of things with very little tactical nuance. Actually, the game at least forces you to be conservative about your ammo, which helps make for some suspenseful, occasionally tense shootouts. But Doom 3 is a pretty easy game overall, and it's not particularly scary or anything either. The level designs mostly consist of winding corridors and lots of enemies that spawn in right behind you, and it gets pretty predictable fast. Fortunately though, the game looks insanely good, so even though you're not racking your brain trying to figure out how to deal with that imp that keeps throwing fireballs right-handed at you, you'll have a consistently great time just looking at all the pretty visuals and making your way through the levels. In the new co-op mode, the action is definitely more interesting, just by virtue of having a friend along for the ride. It means you sometimes have these moments where the two of you might startle each other as you come running out through the shadows. One neat thing about the co-op mode is that a lot of the game's story sequences have been retouched to justify there being two Marines running around instead of just one. It's also worth bringing up one point of caution about co-op mode. You can start a co-op session on any level of the game, so it's a cheap way of possibly spoiling the experience for yourself. Other than that, the content of the single-player and co-op game is essentially identical. In both cases, it's a pretty long series of missions weighing in at around 15 to 20 hours. The gameplay is actually pretty easy either way, so first-person shooter vets should be able to breeze on through. But that, along with a variety of silly contrivances that stick out from all those great graphics, like how you can't use a flashlight and a gun at the same time, also prevent Doom 3 from being as nerve-wracking or intense as it probably could have been. As for the competitive multiplayer mode, in a word, it's okay. It's basically just a bunch of variants on 4-player deathmatch. It's a faster-paced game than the campaign, but since Doom 3 doesn't have much depth to it, the run-and-gun action online can actually get old pretty quick. But yeah, it still looks real nice. The other thing about Doom 3 is there aren't that many memorable moments in the campaign. It all sort of just blends together. Again, you might end up having a much better time playing in co-op, since that makes for a more dynamic experience. Still, the game definitely gives an outstanding first impression, and the first time you see some of the monsters, you'll be really impressed. Then you'll shoot them once or twice with a shotgun and be disappointed to see them easily keel over and die. The enemies look awesome, but their bark is much worse than their bite. It's also worth mentioning that for an extra $10, you can get the Collector's Edition of Doom 3, which has some really worthwhile added bonuses, namely faithful translations of The Ultimate Doom and Doom 2, the games that started it all about 10 years ago. There are dozens of hours of gameplay packed in these, and they support split-screen play as well as single-player. They also frankly sound better and have a lot more personality than Doom 3 does. They're genuine classics. Most collector's editions of games don't offer nearly as much added value as this one does. As mentioned, Doom 3 for the Xbox compares very favorably with the PC original. It doesn't look quite as colorful or quite as sharp as Doom 3 running on a top-of-the-line PC, but by any other point of comparison, this is one fantastic-looking game. The addition of co-op play was also well worth the few months of waiting since the PC original, and between the co-op and the classic games bundled with the Collector's Edition, there's probably enough here to make this version worthwhile for fans who've already played the game on PC. Otherwise, don't expect Doom 3 to offer the same exciting gameplay of, say, a Halo 2, but it's a great pick-up-and-play experience that's a fine way of strutting your home theater stuff. So Doom 3 isn't the greatest playing first-person shooter out there, but who cares? One look at this game and it's easy to see why it's worth playing. People like to say that graphics aren't everything, while other people like to think that graphics are, in fact, really, really important. Doom 3 makes an excellent case for both sides. It's definitely worth witnessing for yourself.